Department is perfect. It's become a familiar routine in year one of the Trump administration. The president criticizes his attorney general, and Sessions responds with a meager defense or none at all.
At this time in Americans' history, we need to make America great again.
Sessions was the first sitting senator to endorse candidate Trump in the 2016 presidential election, and he was a key campaign surrogate. But the president was critical of Sessions from as early as the confirmation process. Sessions failed to disclose contacts with Russia's ambassador, a move that led him to later recuse himself from the Justice Department's Russia probe. The recusal angered the president.
Sessions gets the job. Right after he gets the job, he recuses himself.
Was that a mistake?
Well, Sessions should have never recused himself. And if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me before he took the job, and I would have picked somebody else.
Most of the president's attacks have been through Twitter. Last summer, Mr. Trump wondered why Sessions' Justice Department was not investigating Hillary Clinton. The president called the attorney general weak. Through all of these moments, Sessions has been notably silent. In December, the president tweeted that the FBI was in tatters. Sessions was asked a few days later if he thought the agency was in tatters. He offered slight praise of the FBI and no criticism of his boss.
I believe the FBI is doing a great job around the country. They are partnering with state and local law enforcement, our DEA, our ATF agents, and we're reaching a higher level of unity and sophistication, I think, than we ever have.
CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid is in Washington. So, Paula, what has Attorney General Sessions done to defend the Justice Department?
Well, not much, and that is very frustrating to folks inside the Justice Department. For example, last week, after the release of the Nunes memo, the Attorney General released a statement. He described this memo as, quote, an issue of great importance for the country, but that's in direct contrast to what his own FBI director, Christopher Wray, and his deputy, Rod Rosenstein, had said about the Nunes memo. Both of those men believe that the memo unfairly criticized the FBI by omitting certain facts. Now, last week, the Attorney General also said that he would forward this memo to the internal watchdog for the Justice Department, and he did give a nod to the rank and file. He said, I have great confidence in the men and women of this department. But many people felt that it was sort of a tepid response to what they believed was a partisan document with a partisan narrative directly undermining the Justice Department. But this has been consistent with how Sessions has responded to the memo controversy. About a week ago, a little over a week ago, he gave a speech in Norfolk where he addressed this.
From day one, my mission as Attorney General has been to ensure our great department has its rightful place as the crown jewel, we think, of the U.S. government. However, there have been some sharp criticisms about the department. There are two ways to address and respond to these criticisms. One is to be defensive. The other is to hear concerns and act on them professionally, fairly, and completely, in order to maintain the public trust in their government. My purpose every day is to get the department back to its fundamental mission of enforcing the law and protecting the safety of Americans with integrity and fairness.
So there, again, you hear the Attorney General saying, he went on to say in that speech, too, he said that he didn't see criticism from Congress as necessarily a bad thing. And he said sunlight is truly the best disinfectant. But even people who believe that the Justice Department is not perfect, that they make mistakes, they seem pretty much unanimous in their consensus that the Nunes memo was not necessarily an objective critique. It was a partisan document. And many within the Justice Department are frustrated that the Attorney General has not come out and more robustly defended the Justice Department.
Well, Paula, contrast that with what FBI Director Chris Wray has done to stand up for his agency.
Well, that's a great point. We have to remember both the Attorney General and the FBI chief. They are both Republicans. They're both appointed by President Trump. Christopher Wray has had a pretty low profile. He's kept pretty quiet during his 6-month tenure running the FBI. But last week, he too released a statement after he opposed the Nunes memo, and he said, "Let me be clear. I'm committed to our mission. I stand by our shared determination to do our work independently and by the book. I stand with you." He went on to talk about how he has observed FBI agents conducting themselves with the highest level of integrity, a strong work ethic, and what he described as a fiercely focused professionalism. It is such a contrast to the Attorney General, because he came out, he said, "Look, I stand with you, I defend you, I love what you do," whereas the Attorney General came out and said that he believed, quote, "the majority of the people at the Justice Department are hardworking, patriotic Americans." He sort of equivocated there. So it's quite a contrast in styles and response to what many people see as partisan attacks on the Justice Department.
Well, Paula, what effect is all this having on the rank and file?
Well, it's not just the Nunes memo. As we know, the president has been very critical of the FBI during his time in office. He's described it as being, quote, "in tatters." There have been several high-profile personnel turnovers. Most high-profile, of course, James Comey, most recently the number 2, Andrew McCabe, and a lot of folks who worked with these people who either really admired Comey, even if they didn't agree with everything he did. Likewise, with McCabe, they said, "Look, this stinks. This is really a difficult time here." But they're focused on their work. They are just concerned that the public image of the FBI may be deteriorated by a lot of what's going on in Washington inside the Beltway here.
Well, Paula, how do you explain Attorney General Sessions' decision not to rebut some of these criticisms?
Well, after covering him for almost exactly a year, Elaine, I can tell you he doesn't want to be fired. He has said repeatedly that this is the greatest thing that has ever happened to him, that being Attorney General of the United States is far beyond anything he ever imagined for himself, and it has given him this incredible opportunity to almost unilaterally enforce a lot of reforms, specifically when it came to immigration, that he was really never able to do as a senator. He has had some enormous successes when it comes to implementing those reforms. Border crossings are down significantly. He's been able to staff up immigration courts. He has also been able to try to restrict federal funds to sanctuary cities. So for him, this is the pinnacle, and he absolutely does not want to be fired, which I think is part of why you don't see him pushing back harder on the president.
And Paula, what does this mean for the Russia investigation?
Well, we have to remember Sessions is in a tricky spot with the Russia investigation, because he, of course, had to recuse himself once it was disclosed that he had failed to disclose meetings with the Russian ambassador. So the Attorney General has not really come out and robustly defended Mueller, but he is in kind of a unique situation because he's not overseeing that. But any attack, particularly these partisan attacks on the Justice Department or the FBI, many believe that the long-term game there is to undermine the outcome of the Mueller investigation, to try to push this partisan line that the whole place, federal law enforcement, is partisan, it's corrupt, it's part of the deep state, or some sort of effort to undermine the president. So if you allow the Justice Department to be undermined, you are sort of, in a way, allowing the outcome of the Mueller investigation to be undermined as well.
All right, we know you'll continue to watch it all. Paula Reid in Washington.